This is Klay Thompson, and you are listening to the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. It better not be roasting me if I'm giving.
No, we're not. We're not, Clay. But tough second half the other night. 1-7 from the floor. It's starting out hot. 4-10 in the first half. Big game tonight at Chase Center. As this segment is sponsored by Golden State, serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit GoldenStateLumber.com. We're going to effort Antonio Daniels in a second here. As you see, Gary Payton II chilling at Oracle Park. What is he sipping on? The beer?
Look like it.
Look like it?
He was in those. So those are the seats. I think it's like the Lexus seats.
Club or Diamond Club.
A Truly?
Yeah, and so like they're like dug down. They're between you and me. I mean, you're very close. The proximity is unreal, and you have the TV screen.
Right.
Not the greatest for actually watching the game because the angle is. It's like you're on the ground. It's hard to describe because you're below.
I like those, though.
I know you. I didn't like them. Like, I was right next to Alex Thomas, and who's an absolute baller for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he was wearing the Gucci shoes, and me and him were having a conversation, and Michelle was like, stop talking to the players. I'm like, no, they're feeling this.
All right. You know who I'm feeling? Every time I lock in on League Pass, I love them. We got to get this guy on TV tonight, actually. Antonio Daniels, color analyst for the Pelicans for Fox Sports New Orleans since 2019. He's played for 7 NBA teams during his 14-year career. He's an NBA champion. Of course, played with Steve Kerr. I love AD, alongside Joel Myers, of course. And the Pelicans are coming to town, and this is a big, big game. The Pelicans take care of business last night in Portland. They got the rest of their starters in the fourth quarter. AD, what's happening, man? Welcome back to the Morning Roast. Joe Shasky, the Butcher, Bonte Hill. How you doing this morning?
Bonte, Joe, how you guys doing, man? Thank you guys for having me.
Anytime, AD. I love you on I love you on the League Pass, man. You tell it like it is. You give us everything you have on the microphone. And tonight's big game with the Pelicans coming to town. Look, the Warriors don't have a tiebreaker over the Clippers, the Suns, the T-Wolves, and you guys are surging here, and you guys are playing well. Trey Murphy III, Brandon Ingram, and let's start there with B.I. He looks as healthy as he's been all season long. Mm-hmm. It feels like he's playing his best basketball down the stretch.
You know, he's playing the best basketball I've seen him play in quite some time. If you go back to last year around this time where he was helping the Pelicans get to the playoffs, he kind of went into this a similar mode where I don't know. It's almost like players have really elite players have this next level that they can get to and they can activate. I didn't have it. I was a role player. You know, I just played my role. I went out there and did what I was asked to do. There are certain guys that have that next level of focus. And basically, I told a story last night on the broadcast. In our last road game in L.A., B.I. was the only player who was lifting weights after the game. So I go in after the game. He's lifting with one of our strength and conditioning guys, Stan. And B.I. stands up and he says, man, AD, Stan, I'm telling you, man, nobody wants this more than I do. And when you have your star that is kind of setting that standard with a young, impressionable team, like that, it's infectious. The way he's playing right now, his attitude and his mental approach right now, it is just infectious throughout this team.
Well, that's an interesting contrast because we've been following the Warriors for a long time this year, and it just every time I feel like they're going to turn the corner, they don't. Every time I feel like the season's over, it's not. So, like, it's just the weirdest vibe. What's the general vibe around New Orleans? Optimism? Because that's the sense that I get from you.
Well, the general vibe around New Orleans is optimism. But it's very similar to what you just said, Joe. So I have bookmarked so many different Twitter things throughout the course of this season where people are saying, oh, you know what, that's it. The season's over. And then next thing you know, because we played earlier, everybody else loses too. You don't lose any ground, right?
Right.
And then you win 3 or 4 games in a row, and it's like, oh, okay, now we're going to win the championship. And then you lose to somebody you're supposed to be. It's like, wait, no, the season's over again. So it's like that constant changing of the temperature. Like, okay, we're good. No, we're not. We're good. No, we're not. We're good. No, we're not. And what killed this team throughout the course of the year was having their 2 stars sidelined at the same time and having the toughest month of the season schedule-wise in the entire NBA. Because with a young basketball team, you lose 10 games in a row, that impacted this team big time. When they lost 10 games straight, that was very, very difficult to come back from.
No doubt. Antonio Daniels here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game, and not too many teams bounce back from that, a young team at that. And without Zion Williamson for most of the season, you get guys like Trey Murphy III and Herb Jones stepping up. Herb Jones, a hell of a perimeter defender, and then Trey Murphy III can just light it up. Because you discussed this game. I know he struggled last night, 1 of 7, which scares me for tonight because I'm thinking to myself, damn, he may be due tonight at Chase Center.
Right. The thing about Trey, I tell our fans all the time, there's a silver lining in everything. So, yes, Zion has only played 29 games. Yes, B.I. has yet to reach 40 games. And Trey Murphy has started more games than Brandon Ingram has. That's not what you anticipated coming into this season. Mm-hmm. But the silver lining of that is you got reps for Trey. You got legitimate reps for him. I'm talking about reps that you didn't expect, reps that he didn't expect. And what came with those reps is progress, right? Because he is a knockdown shooter. So now what teams are doing is they're running him off that three-point line. Okay, so what he's learning to do now is put that ball on the floor and use the athleticism that the Lord has blessed him with, right? So he's not just a standstill shooter. You can't help off of him because of how quick his trigger is, because of how deep that he can shoot that basketball. So the progress of Trey, and that's one of the best parts for me about this job, is watching guys take, especially young players, take the proverbial step. Mm-hmm. Because if you go and you look throughout this league, when young players take the proverbial step, their organizations take the step. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, Boston wasn't a championship team until Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart took the step. Mm-hmm. You know, so when you have young players that are part of that roster that take that step, we saw it last year. We saw Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole take that step in Golden State. That's the reason why if Andrew Wiggins does not get vaccinated last year, Golden State does not win that championship.
Nope.
Antonio, let me ask you about that. Just as someone who played in the league for such a long time, you've been in lots of different environments, and obviously you're now following your team as closely as possible, so you have a really good feel for the league as a whole over the last 30 years. Is there anything that is reminiscent to this Wiggins situation? I mean, obviously we want to have respect and respect his privacy and his family and all that. Like, we understand that. It also feels like uncharted territory that the Warriors are navigating right now. Is there anything that comes close to what's going on right now?
No. The closest thing that I can think of, and the thing I don't want to do, is speculate.
No
doubt. That's reckless. No doubt. We haven't done that either.
We've been really trying to be sensitive to that.
Right. You have to be sensitive to his situation. And my only thought would be, it has to be something legitimate. It has to be something serious. Because guys don't want to miss games. Guys don't want to be a part. This is their other family. Right? I can tell you something that I went through when I was in college. When I lost my brother, February 8th, 1996. Toughest thing I've ever went through in my life was my older brother. He played basketball at the University of Dayton. And you know, basketball in the Bowling Green State University, Jim Larinaga was my coach.
Wow.
That was my sanctuary.
Wow.
That was my sanctuary. So that's what kind of kept my mind off of that tragedy. Huh. So for him not to be around Steve Kerr and his coaching staff, for him not to be around Steph, Clay, Draymond, and all those guys that he's developed such a bond with, I can only imagine what him and his family are going through right now. And I agree with you guys. I don't want to speculate. I want to respect his privacy, but I have to figure it's something legitimate that him and his family are going through right now.
No doubt about that. Antonio Daniels, one of the best in the business when he calls a game. We love him on that broadcast down in Valley Sports in New Orleans. Played in the league for a long, long time, 14 years. And you brought up all those stuff. They're missing Andrew Wiggins. There's no doubt because now you're playing small. And then I look at the big. Jonas Valanciunas, even when he was with Memphis, he has killed the Warriors. And he's on a heater during this 5-game win streak for you guys. And that's the matchup to me nobody talks about. Looney, Draymond versus Jonas Valanciunas. And Valanciunas gobbles up rebounds, and he gets guys into foul trouble. Having that big there has been destroying the Warriors. We saw it the other night with Minnesota, and he's playing some really good basketball. That's why when Zion gets back, and you guys are really big up there in the front court, it's going to cause a lot of problems in the Western Conference.
What Willie did on St. Patrick's Day against the Houston Rockets, he made a conscious effort to involve Jonas Valanciunas. This is kind of a drum that I beat all year long in our broadcast. Because of the era that I played in, because of who I was blessed to play with. You know, a lot of teams that I played on would always go to the big man on the first play of every game. And I used to say this on our broadcast. Because what it does is now that big feels involved. And once he feels involved, he's going to do all the little things. He's going to screen. He's going to rebound. He's going to run. He's going to protect. He's going to do all those things. But when a big doesn't feel involved, and with all due respect to the game of basketball, he doesn't feel involved. And all those little things he's not going to do. So on St. Patrick's Day, the first play of the game really went to Jonas Valanciunas and made a concerted effort to get him involved. And he has responded during this 5-game winning streak with 5 straight double-doubles.
Wow.
But even in that double-double, even in that game that we lost against Houston on St. Patrick's Day, he had a double-double that game as well. So we had 6 straight double-doubles because now Willie has made a conscious effort to get him involved, to get him that ball, just to get him touches. You guys just referenced his physicality. What that does is that brings double team, which frees up somebody else. So just the offensive balance of you guys mentioned from the outside of having a Brandon Ingram, of having a Trey Murphy, of having a CJ McCollum, and then inside having a Jonas Valanciunas to go to down low. Kind of balances the offense out.
You referenced Zion a few times. What's the deal with Zion right now? What's going on? Is his body just betraying him? Is this just really unfortunate? Because, gosh, it feels like we're being robbed of one of the most electric players across sports.
Right. And right now, he's slowly but surely working his way back. And for me, no news is good news right now. No news is good news because the only news that you'll hear is this time is another setback. And that's not what you want to hear. Because he had a setback in the second week of February, which took him all the way back to block 1. So I'm hoping, similar to Joel Embiid, maybe this is just an early career thing, and growth is not linear. Neither is learning to what this league is about, what you need to do to remain in this league for a legitimate amount of time. So, and you're right, he's electric, he's generational. And this team is a completely different team when he is on that floor.
Yeah, it's a scary proposition. This team is coming. 5 straight wins. Handle business in Portland. You blew out the Clippers last weekend, 131-110. As you mentioned, B.I.'s playing well, Valanciunas and everything. And the Warriors are reeling right now. I know they just won 3 straight, but without Wiggins, without knowing the rotations, GP2 back, how does that affect Kuminga and Dante DiVincenzo? A monster matchup here at Chase Center. Hell, it could be a preview to play a game. We have no idea, AD, but we know you're at the airport. Wanting to make sure you get your luggage and everything, and we'll see you out here in the Bay Area. AD, thanks for the time as always.
Appreciate it, fellas. You have a blessed day.
You too. Antonio Daniels here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. Telling you, one of the best in the business. Guru and I always text whenever he's on League Pass. He is hilarious, but he knows the game inside and out, knows his role, knows how players operate.